Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to see what is literary theory. On seeing the topic, most of the people will get upset, but I will make you understand the concepts clearly. Then you will understand or you will learn to enjoy literary theory. So before moving on to what is literary theory, I want to make you clear one thing. What is literary theory and what is literary criticism. I will explain you clearly. What is literary criticism means a critic. A person who is criticizing the works of other writers is known as critic. So, a writer will criticize the work of another writer. So, that is what we will discuss in literary criticism. Which writer is criticizing which work and whose work and what he is saying, whether he is criticizing in a good manner or whether he is criticizing in a bad manner. Like that, we will discuss in literary criticism. But in literary theory, in order to criticize a particular work, they will use or they will apply some theories. That is what we will discuss in literary theory, like new criticism, Marxist criticism, feminist criticism, psychoanalytical criticism, psychological criticism. These type of criticisms and these type of theories we will discuss in the upcoming days. Now we will learn only the basics, understanding the basics. Before learning a new thing, we want to be strong in the basics, then only we can learn the in-depth concepts, or else we will feel it difficult to understand the in-depth concepts. So the first topic which we are going to discuss in literary theory is changing worlds and changing words. So what is literature? In the next point itself, we can get the answer for what is literature. There is no proper definition. Yes, of course, there are numerous definitions for the question what is literature. I agree. But there is no proper definition for what is literature. There are numerous writers. Each writer will give his or her own point of view for the question what is literature. But there is no proper definition. As there are numerous writers, there are numerous definitions. So to some extent we will adopt the definition of one person for the question what is literature. The definition was given by Wordsworth. His definition is spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings uncontrolled by emotions. Okay, this is what we will agree or we will adopt to some extent as the proper definition for literature. Distinction between ordinary communication and literary communication. So to make this point clear, I will give you an example. The same person is undergoing a formal conversation and informal conversation. While he is having a formal conversation, he will use some words. Then if he is having an informal communication, he will use some other words. Both the conversations, though it is conversed by the same person, he will use different words. It depends on the situation and circumstances. So in the same way, there is difference between ordinary communication and literary communication. In ordinary communication, we can speak whatever we think. But in literary communication, while we are writing or while we are having a literary communication, we should be cautious with each and every word we use, or otherwise it will create a great impact to the readers or to the writers. So there is a distinction between ordinary communication and literary communication. To make this point more clear, I will give you an example. The sentence which was stated by a writer, J.L. Austin. The sentence is, I hereby pronounce you man and wife. This sentence will be uttered by the priest in the church. So it is an example for ordinary communication. For literary communication, we can take the example. Consider a writer is writing a play. So in that play, he has created a priest character. So that priest character will utter this dialogue. So here the dialogue will be uttered only by the priest, but not by the other persons. So here the same sentence is changed to literary communication. So the sentence is the same, but according to the situation and conditions, it will come under the category of ordinary communication and literary communication. Connection between literariness and reality. So there is a great connection between literariness and reality. For reality, if we take an autobiographical work or biography, it is filled with reality to some, to the most extent. It will be filled with reality. Uh, if the person is writing a novel, then he will use his imagination to make his writing a grand one, an elaborate, a decorative one. So, uh, to some, from where he will get the concept? Only from real world. So, to some extent, literariness and reality remains together. So, fact is fiction and fiction is fact. um, we should not take it as a complete one. So, fact is fiction means some fact will be given in the fiction form, and then though it is a fiction, to some extent it will be considered as a fact. So, this is what they are saying. Then George Steiner, he defines literature in negative terms. So, he has given 3 points, that is, literature is not studied for the sake of information. He's saying that if we read literature, definitely we will not gather any information. Of course, we will not gather any information if we are reading a true literature work, but we will get enjoyment and we will feel pleasure to read literature. Okay, then message in literature is not verifiable. If we are right, if we are reading a true work, if you are reading a true work means definitely we can verify that whether the statement given in that particular work is true or not. But the content which is given in literature works will not be verified, because the writer has the right, to imagine himself, and he can express whatever he thinks. Okay, then literature is not paraphrasable. As we all know that no one is capable to make other person to understand or to teach what is literature. One has to understand the literature and the purpose of literature only by themselves. Okay, no one can able to, no one can teach or no one can make other to understand the what is literature. Okay, if somebody is capable of making other people to understand what is literature means, definitely that is not literature. It comes under the category of science. If the science work is given, definitely anyone can teach what is there in that particular work to others. But if the literature work is given, we can teach, but we will not get the full effect. Okay, so one has to read and one has to understand by themselves. It is not paraphrasable. And then here they are discussing about the language of literature and language of science. The language of science is cryptic and the language of literature is Delphic. What is Delphic? And Delphic means obscure. Cryptic means it will be like, if you're reading a science work means, we will read with the we will read with the notion that when we are going to complete that work, or what we are going to learn and how we will apply those ideas in our what research, like that we will think. But when we are reading the literature, definitely we will get enjoyment, we will feel happy after reading a literature. So we will be immersed in that world. Okay, that much power the language of literature has. Ezra Pound. Ezra Pound has given a definition for a great literature. Great literature is simply language charged with meaning to the utmost possible degree. Of course, we all agree with that. A great literature is fully power packed with the language with complete meaning. Okay, then the great literature works. We can take a great epic like Paradise Lost or Shakespeare's works. The words which are used by Shakespeare He particularly selects some words. He will be uh, careful while choosing the words, and he will use the metaphors and elaboration of language, because only then, if some decorations are given to a particular writing, then only the readers will feel relaxed, and then only they can enjoy while reading. For example, to make you understand this point clear, I will give an example. A simple incident, a very very simple incident. A heroine is coming along with uh, the symbolism of nature. This is the incident. So the writer will take a lot of efforts in order to use elaborate language. Then only the readers can understand what the writer is exactly coming to say, or else we will not understand. We will read the literature work as a normal work. Okay, then sublime quality. On hearing this word sublime, definitely we will remember of Longinus. Sublimity, he is noted for sublimity, that grand manner, that hi-fi. Okay, and then uplifting the mind by its overpowering force. For this I will give you an example. um, the rich people will have the habit of reading books regularly, but the working class or the middle class people will not have the habit of reading books. So the rich people, by reading the books regularly, they will enrich their mind, they will uplift their mind to the next level. Only then they can achieve and they can move forward in their life. But uh, the working class people and the middle class people are not having the habit of reading, so their minds are not uplifted, they remain in the same level. According to me, this is one of the point for the proverb, the richer becomes richer and the poor becomes poorer. Okay, good literature is of timeless significance and universal. In this point, in this passage, the same point will be repeated in different formats. Only one concept is the main concept. Okay, I will explain you. Good literature, for this too we will take the example of Shakespeare's works. Shakespeare has written his all his works before many centuries, but even now, when a reader takes and reads the work of Shakespeare, he can compare it with his or her present situation. It exactly suits the same. There will be no what to say, there will be no irrelevance. So the relevance is must, then only that particular work will be considered as great literature. There is no age or there is no time for great literature. If a work is a great one, then it will stand forever and ever. And then the any work is not written, literature is not written for any particular region or particular group of people. It is meant for all. And then the purpose of great literature is to humanize life. By reading the works, by reading the literature works, we will know what really life is. Since life is literature is the mirror of life, we can know how to deal with the people of this mentality. How people are, how different types of people are there in the world, how to treat them or how to behave with them. Like that and all we will learn if we read literature. We want to know how to read literature or how to approach literature, then only we will get the whole essence of the great literature's effort, or else we will get boredom of reading the literature books. And then the job of critics is to interpret. The critic's job will be as what to say, to some extent it is a very simple one, but he has to criticize the work of particular writer without any personal vengeance. He has to measure the worth of a text, whether this text has reached the worth, whether it is good for the readers, whether the readers will get any good points or any moral values in order to lead their lives, or it is an utter waste. He want to criticize. Somebody needs to be there, then only we, in order to uh, what to say, in order to point out our mistakes, then only we can improve in our life. As there is nobody in our life to rectify our mistakes or to point out our mistakes, definitely we will do the same mistake again and again, and we will stay in the same plane. We will not move forward in our life. Okay, so the critics is doing a great job. Even though they are criticizing the work of a writer, they are doing the great job. Word and world keeps changing. Here, every day, numerous words are added in the dictionary. So the word keeps on changing and the world too changing. In the past years, what they say in before 5 to 10 years, what they say means, we want to be together, we want to live in a joint family, we are using social networks and we are searching for friends in the social network without knowing the names of our neighbors. Like that they say for the past 5 or 10 years. But for the past 2 or 3 years, they are saying we should not communicate with our neighbors, we should focus only on social media and gadgets. So the world keeps changing. Even the word too changes. So continuing change in the formation of social systems, attitudes, values, and ideas are explained in sociology. Sociology means what we will discuss in sociology. The attitudes, the changing attitudes, values, ideas, that and all will be discussed in sociology. So that is known as wave theory. So there are three wave theories which we will discuss in further videos. I will explain what is wave in this video, then we will discuss the wave theories in further video. So wave signifies that everything has not only some of elasticity but also rigidity and resistance to change. Words also change. Words also will resist to change to some extent, along with elasticity. Then word also will change. So this is the point they are going to give for the term wave. If we learn the wave theories, you will understand the proper definition for the term wave.